One,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. So the first one, who's the typical customer for our focus business? And what sort of brands fit in their evoked set?
So my thoughts on the type of customer, I was thinking travelers, people who aren't with their own car would use Lyft. People in cities who don't own a car, or people who have maybe like one car, anything, basically any type of shortage of your own personal transportation. And then also on the other side, people who want a cheaper option versus like a taxi service.
I thought it
Yeah,
was
or a more friendly service than a taxi, maybe.
Yeah, that
Or
too.
easier to use or something like that.
I thought it was interesting. There was an article run here saying that Uber and Lyft were now targeting seniors and college students as their new demographics. And it's foreign to me. We don't have those car services in Calgary. They've tried, and we've just given them the boot like as fast as we can.
Really?
That's funny. Why would you say that? Or why would you say
First
that?
of all, it's totally illegal here. Our insurance does not cover giving people a commercial ride in your personal vehicle. That's not part of our insurance system right now. So we actually have to revamp the entire legislation for our insurance industry before they can legally operate here. And the other thing is, for Canada, we're quite liberal, but we're conservative compared to the rest of the world. And we're still like, you're calling a stranger to get into their car? No. No, there's way too many safety factors there. So Uber did try. They launched for like 2 weeks and they were in court. They're still in court. They'll be there for the next couple of years cleaning up their mess from that 2 week launch.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So we do have like Car2Go. That's really big here. Things where you get like a commercial vehicle, no one privately owns it and no one's driving you around. It's your own responsibility. We're good with that. But yeah, jumping into someone else's car and hey, here's a few bucks for gas, let's go. No way.
So I've used Uber for the first time. I've done it 3 times now, just within the last month before we even started talking about doing this. But yeah, it was a little bit, it was a little weird, like overcoming like who's going to be the driver. But they actually show you like a picture of your driver before you get in the car with them. Like I had to take like a midnight Uber home from the airport just this last week, and it was a lady, which made me feel better. I was like, even though she could be a crazy lady, I was like, I'm much more comfortable driving with a lady than some guy at midnight. So I totally get that. Canadians, maybe you guys are just a little smarter than us.
Well, I won't go there. I think that there's pros and cons to both.
Don't hurt our feelings now, okay?
No. Whoever you vote for your next president, our prime minister is still a screw up. So I can't speak to anything going on down there.
It's total crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll just agree. Pros and cons, both sides of the border.
Yeah.
So anything else we want to talk about for typical customer?
No, I think we get it. I think we totally get it. So.
So evaluative criteria that potential customers would focus on. So what do we consider when we're looking at a rideshare? I think a safety factor was a good one to start with there. More comfortable with.
Yeah. I have safety, the price of the ride, of course, and then the speed of service, like how reliable they are and how quick they are to pick you up. Those are my 3 things.
Yeah, I definitely say so. And especially with these new rides like Lyft and Uber, the accessibility through the app, like how hard it is to get through that and request a driver. But I think those are the top ones for sure.
I think it's interesting how big a role convenience really plays. You know, we don't actually have to call anyone. You log in and say, hey, I want to ride. But if that takes 2 seconds too long, it's like, oh, I'm out of here. You know?
No, and then you really only have to wait like 5 minutes for him to come. It's like it's really fast.
Yeah. And as though anything else would really be better. No one wants to get on the public transit. That's going to take longer no matter what. But that app's got to work fast, right?
But safety too, and I think they're trying to make it as safe as they can. It's pretty, since it's on the internet, through the internet, everyone knows where you are and who picked you up and whatever. So hopefully it's safe that way. I don't know.
I think that's a good point. And when things like Facebook started up and people would check in somewhere, at least here they said, stop doing that. Now everyone knows you're at the hockey game and they're going to go rob you blind. It definitely happened a couple of times. So I think the safety aspect and people knowing where you are, that's interesting. Anything else you want to talk about there?
No, I couldn't think of anything else. I just kind of, thought those were the criteria that a potential customer would have.
Yeah. The only other one I put on there was, do you really want to share a ride with someone? In which case a service like Car2Go might be better. So what types, or maybe I had social influences. So I thought it was interesting. I don't know which season it was. I was watching Big Bang and they made a big thing about Uber. So is that a thing? Like, are people going to say, hey, I want to take Lyft or something because a character on a TV show also accesses the same thing?
I think it definitely helps. I know that like I mentioned, I just started using it and I went for Uber over Lyft only because I've heard so many of my friends. It's become a verb. Yeah, we're gonna go Uber. Like, okay. So I was just more familiar with it. I'm like, well, everyone I know uses Uber, so I'll go Uber. But so I definitely think the social influences play a role in which type of rideshare company you choose, for sure.
Any other reference groups or opinion leaders that you think would fall into that group? Just friends? Would family have an influence in there?
Well, like Julia said, if your friends are using it, then you're going to use it too, and you kind of all start using it. And I don't know. I think that is a huge influence too. But yeah, the TV shows probably do make a difference, Yeah,
especially because a lot of my non-LDS friends, it's become a big thing for like their drinking nights. Like they come, they're not worried about going out to the bars and staying late anymore because they have an Uber ride home. So like, I was in a situation for work where I was the only non-drinker and I wanted to leave and they all wanted to stay. And so I took the rental car and they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. We're going to Uber. I'm like, okay, go for it. See you later. So I think like pretty much any acquaintances, any circles or people that you come in contact, if they're talking about it, I think it becomes influential. And it definitely is like a new thing. Like this is what you do to go have fun on the weekends, especially for the drinker party and really anyone who needs a ride.
These guys must be hard up for work. Like, I work in the transportation industry and I've seen enough drunks to know they'll never get in my personal vehicle.
That's true.
Like,
yeah, seriously.
That is true.
wow. I'm learning lots. This is fun. I wouldn't have even thought that was a thing. Like, we have, especially during the holiday season, we have a place where you can volunteer to become a designated driver. And it's usually all people that have received harm in some way because of drunks on the road. They get up there and say, I'll take you, I don't care, just don't kill another person. So I wonder if, if the ride shares were to start up here legitimately at some point, if there'd be someone cutting into their business that way.
Yeah.
All these organizations that are already providing designated driver services for free, really.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know, do you ladies have that in the US?
Not that I know of, but I've never had a need for it, or so I've never paid attention to it.
I think there are companies that you can call. so you don't drive drunk, but like, yeah, so we've never had to use them. But this is almost makes it permissive for people to be able to drink. Now everyone can go and drink and, and have a great time because no one needs to drive home. So that's kind of an interesting side of it too.
Yeah, good point. So what types of self-identity, personality, or lifestyles does our brand appeal to? So we've got the drunks, the party crowd.
So I read an article on Lyft versus Uber, and Lyft tries to cater to, like, they're more friendly. Their drivers are supposed to be more friendly, more like social, interactive with their passengers.
Oh.
Uber, on the other hand, is more professional. So, like, if you get in a Lyft vehicle, it's not uncommon for you to sit up front with the driver. But when you're in Uber, it's very much like a taxi. Like, you sit in the back. There's definitely a line of, this is their personal space, this is mine. So I thought that was interesting because as a passenger, I don't know that I would want to sit up front with someone because I don't know, maybe that's just me being a little more standoffish, but I'd rather it feel more like a taxi service than like a ride from a friend, from a stranger. But so that's definitely one of their Lyft's focuses, is trying to be more of a hangout. You're getting a ride from a friend versus it's professional.
I think it's interesting that there's enough people in those demographics that they can make that distinction and cater to one group over the other.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted to do Lyft instead of Uber because I wanted to see why they wanted to try to compete with them, because Uber kind of has the market, and so I was interested to see why Lyft was even trying to compete with them. So this is kind of their angle, I think, we're friendlier, you can come in, it's like a friend, we're just giving you a ride. But I don't know if it's going to be really successful in the long run. So I don't know.
Well, yeah. Did they say anything about, was there an age demographic that fit into the friendly or more business type? Like, I have a really hard time.
No, they didn't go super deep into it. But then I was comparing the two websites too, and you get the sense of like Lyft is their bright pink, and they've got like a video promo on their front page that's like kind of goofy, like plays off of like people don't know how to drive and so drive with someone else, which I thought was a little counterintuitive. But and then if you go to Uber, it's much more laid out. There's no video promos. Everything is kind of just like your standard professional website. But I mean, I would imagine they're trying to catch a younger demographic with that, or people who are more for social purposes rather than getting A to B.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
So. I think there's two interesting angles on that. And one, if you get the younger demographic, they grow up with you. So you've got people that are going to keep using your service for the next 50 or 60 years, regardless of who you're targeting, just because that's what they're used to and they've always used. But the millennials, they confuse me and they do everything different and backwards and upside down. And I would think they would choose Lyft just because it's unorthodox compared to, the business like Uber. At least in my city, like, our average age is under 40. And they've all very high educations and too much money. So if you have to dress up for a business meeting, you wear the $300 or $400 pair of jeans instead of your just faded weekend Levi's. You don't wear a suit. No one wears a suit. That's ridiculous. That's for old people, right? The different sort of world. So, like, I'm having a really hard time in some of my business classes because my idea of business is apparently not anyone else's idea of business. But yet we're the greatest economic drive for all of Canada right here. So there's lots of things to figure out.
Yeah. Also another thing I just thought of on the social aspect for Lyft, they offer group rides. I don't believe Uber does. So you can request a ride for like up to 6 people in one car. And I don't think Uber does that service. I could be mistaken, but so they will both of them allow you to like request a ride where you share with another stranger, so you split costs. But Lyft is like get a ride with you and your friends. So again, I think that caters to more of the party, more of the social, interactive, potentially younger crowd, maybe not, but that could go for everyone.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So what are people saying about our focus business? What's the positive and what's the negative?
Well, I think as a bare minimum, they get the job done. They transport you from wherever you need to go, from where you are to wherever you need to go. I don't know a ton about Lyft, but I would say I definitely knew they were smaller than Uber, which I don't know if that's a bad, like negative or positive connotation behind their brand, but I think it could go again either way depending on who you're with and who's influencing your view.
Well, I found a website or a web page of a guy who drives for both. And so he could compare them, you know, how it is to work for each one and how each company is. And they really do stack up pretty, like safety. They were like just neck and neck, and, you know, being on time, they were really close to, um, like we already talked about, Uber can be more professional for people. Their drivers tend to be more men, and they tend to know the cities better. They're better drivers because they know where they're going almost all the time. And he said a lot of Lyft drivers, a lot more of them are women or really casual people that just do this on the side, and they're not maybe as knowledgeable about how to get places. They'll get you there, but they may not get you there, you know, in the quickest way. So those were just some, you know, differences that he felt about the two companies, but he liked working for both. So
That's really interesting because if Lyft is pushing for a more social atmosphere in the vehicle, then it could be beneficial to not be taking the fastest way there,
yeah, maybe so.
right? Like,
So
True.
I wonder if they're changing their target audience based on who their employees really are.
maybe.
Promote what would be perceived as a weakness and making it the headline.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That's interesting. I think I I'm curious how Lyft works because I know when you get into an Uber, your app you've already given them your destination, and so they don't even ask you where you're going. They already have it pulled up on their phone, their map, and they get you via Google Maps like the fastest way possible. So you even really have to direct unless something's going wrong, malfunctioning with the app. So it's interesting that Lyft maybe doesn't have that feature, or they have even an option of getting lost or having to figure out which way to go. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've never used it.
not sure. Maybe it's people and how they can even read it, you know, read where they're
Yeah.
supposed to go. But I think another thing he said was different was Lyft also on their app allows you to add a tip, and in Uber, no.
Oh,
It's,
that's right.
you know, so he said that was another difference too between the two of them.
So again, that kind of lends to the more social atmosphere. If you can build a quick connection, there's a better chance of getting a tip.
Yeah, you can get a tip.
Yeah.
Did you
Definitely.
tip your drivers for Uber, or do you feel like you don't need to?
No, there's not even an option, so you don't feel like you have to. So, which I've kind of, well, I guess if it was built into the app, then it wouldn't bother me, but I definitely don't want to do any type of transaction of money like directly with the person. That's weird to me. But yeah, Uber, I don't think they have a feature to even
Yeah.
tip the driver if you wanted to.
Okay. Well, we're good. Those were the questions from the discussion board on our thing. Did we want to move over to Groupon?
Sure,
Yeah.
the Groupon is pretty quick. Why don't we just do that one too?
Yep. I've only gotten through like 4 or 5 pages of that Groupon thing, so I'll participate as much as I can.
We love things like Groupon up here. This is the one that I at least know.
Groupon is good.
Well, and the questions didn't really have to do with the reading
Oh,
necessarily.
cool.
It was
Okay.
more about just, so let's go ahead. Do you have those questions, David?
I don't. I wasn't prepared. I'm still looking. If you've got them, then feel free to fire away here.
Let me see. See if I can find them.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
So we were supposed to go on the website, check out a deal that we liked, and see which sort of needs it satisfied based on, is it Maslow's hierarchy of needs? All these wonderful terms I hope to never actually use in life.
I agree.
Like, I haven't heard of this guy before. There's a reason why I haven't. I say guy, it could be gal. I don't know.
Guy, yeah. So he's he's got like a pyramid, and it's basically society functions, or like basically there's like the very bottom tier is like your basic needs, your basic human needs have to be met, and then it kind of progresses from there until you reach like self actualization or something like that. Basically, until you've got your basic needs met, you're not going to look around for anything else to met in your life until you've got the basic like food, shelter, that sort of stuff.
So I picked.
Well, that's Maslow.
There you go. You know more than us. That's good.
He was. Yeah, we cover him, and I feel like he pops up often, every now and then in school classes.
Well, it's the first time I've come across him.
Oh, and they talk about it a ton in this lesson this week too, and in all of it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I have bought Groupons a lot. Have you guys bought Groupons before?
Yeah.
So it said to pick one, and so I just went on there and I picked some earrings that were like 2-carat opal earrings for $7.99.
Nice.
Instead of $80 or whatever they say they're supposed to be. And it said, what needs does that fulfill on the pyramid? And I was like, well, I guess what's one of them? Esteem is one of them. I like to look nice or whatever. I don't know. I had a hard time kind of coming up with a couple of things that a pair of earrings would, fit into that pyramid. It's way at the top for sure.
Yeah. Pretty much, I think anything we're discussing in this class is like the top 2 tiers, which exactly what those are.
It's marketing, right? Because they're marketing things and trying to sell things. Right. So
it's interesting that we live in a society, though, where we're so far ahead that there's not much point in marketing things like food and clothing and shelter. It's there, but the real money is on all the things that are further up that pyramid.
Yeah.
It's true.
So like my group, when I picked a Brazilian steakhouse, I'd like to eat, but of course it can be counterintuitive. You decide to eat too much. All you can eat meat is never really a good idea. And then I thought also social, because it is. You got to learn how to say no eventually. In a young city, everyone goes to try the new restaurants first, and so it's a big sort of social thing to be able to say all the different restaurants that you've been to and rate them as to what's your favorite. You can't just go to one Brazilian meat house. You got to go to all of them and then decide which one is your favorite, and then invite everyone from work to your favorite and explain why it's your favorite. And it might also explain why no one can cook in my city, but that's right. I was in real estate for the last 10 years, and it was not unusual at all to go into a house that has been around for, I don't know, anything brand new to up to about 15 years, and the oven's never been used.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It is. Okay, so Groupon, what's the value for the end user?
Well, you get, sorry, I was just going to say you get whatever product or service you're purchasing for a discounted rate. There's your value. You feel like
you're getting a really good deal, especially if it's something you would have already bought, like the restaurant. If you can get a $20 thing for $40 worth of food, then you feel like you're getting a deal.
Mm-hmm. Or on the flip side, you feel like you're able to purchase things that you wouldn't have been able to buy because they're discounted. So, which I think moves you higher up on the tier, because you're dabbling in things that wouldn't be part of your normal needs.
So do you ever, like when you've looked at Groupon, have you analyzed it and been like, hey, this would be really great and I really want to do it? Or have you ever been dissatisfied with one of your purchases? Like that's the thing for me. I look at it and I'm like, this is 60% off for a reason. Or do I actually want what they're offering here?
I've always been really careful with the stuff that I've bought, and I had to have a real use for it, or it was something that I was already thinking about buying, or I just won't do it. But I think a lot of people are way more impulsive too.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily, but I think a lot of people are impulsive and they see that deal and they're like, I have to have that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the case study, I think they mentioned the statistics of people that never actually redeemed their Groupon. It was quite high, I thought.
Like 30%.
Actually done that.
Oh, no.
I know, it was terrible. I bought what was it? I think it was a massage. We were gonna go get massages, and it ended up being like an hour away from my house. The where to go, I didn't look at it too much, and I was like, oh, I'll get down there, and I never did.
Oh.
But they do let you to get your money back, but I kept saying, oh, I'm gonna use it, so I never actually made it happen. So I'm one of those people.
Oh, you're a statistic in our case study.
Yeah. With that, and it made me feel a little better. I was like, okay, I'm not the only one.
Well, yeah, 30%. That's pretty darn high. So yeah.
Yeah. So then, how about value for businesses? And it seems like they're practically giving this stuff away. What's the value for them?
Well, I thought it was interesting how the case study explained how it started, because I've thought the same. Like, how are they giving such steep discounts? But it sounds like at least in the beginning, they had to reach a certain threshold of buyers before the deal went into
before it was real.
Once the deal was active. Yeah. So I guess that saves whatever margins you have from completely tanking and losing a bunch of money. But on the other hand of things, it's a huge advertising tool that's probably not that expensive as far as initial upfront costs. Maybe the redeeming and operating costs of getting all those Groupons is. But I think in the beginning, especially for businesses who don't have a big marketing budget, I think it's super appealing.
It's a ton of really free advertising for them. It gives them a ton of exposure for not any upfront cost anyway.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to make an assumption. In the US, do they always have you in the system? Are they always asking for your phone number or your email so that they've got you in the system down there?
Yeah, they always want that information, and they did say that Groupon, gives that to businesses too, I think. So.
Right. Do businesses ever offer you an incentive to provide them with your information?
I don't think so.
I mean, usually it's like a loyalty program thing, like give us or sign up for our mailing list and we'll give you coupons and stuff. Or to the grocery store, join the loyalty program, give us your info, and then you'll get certain coupons when you're shopping at the store type of deal. But
to me, that's the only real value that comes out of a Groupon is if you can lock in their information and then start badgering them for years to come and start getting a little bit of money out of them down the road. Because there's no way they're making money off the Groupon. It's just to get people in the door. So they got to be able to capture that information and then turn them into actual clients later on down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a lot of valuable information,
Definitely. The other thing is, I wonder what the statistics are for if you get a customer in the store for your Groupon, how much more likely are they to buy other things? Like if that's super high, maybe that's their value. You give them some bait and then they buy more than what they originally planned.
Yeah, I didn't notice. I think there was a couple of people that mentioned it in the case studies, but I didn't really look into that. So that'd be a good point.
Well, and I think there's some limits too. Like it was interesting because it talked about, Julie, did you get to the part about the businesses who said it just totally destroyed them?
Oh,
Did you
no.
get to that part yet?
Mm-mm.
So, it can also really backfire because it just ends up costing the company way too much money. Or if a local restaurant makes some great deal, then all of a sudden they have too many customers, all of a sudden, and then they can't serve them all, and then everyone hates it. So there are some things that, there were some backfires for some businesses. They just said it just totally destroyed them.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess you got to really be careful with how many you're going to offer and really understand what your capacity is for your business and not oversell yourself for sure.
yeah. So we talked a little about the CRM. What are a couple of characteristics of social influence, and how does that work to increase Groupon sales? So like one I picked was family. We're always trying to help each other out, and in Groupons they're always so cheap. If you find one that's good, then sometimes you buy a couple more for a sibling or for a parent or a child, so that they don't miss out on a good deal.
Yeah, I know when we've done group things, like for example, I'm in Young Women's in my ward, and we're doing we're going to take the youth to go paintballing in a few weeks. And someone was like, oh, let's look for a Groupon for that. So I think like any type of group dynamic where you're trying to get the most bang for your buck, definitely is a social influence.
Yeah, we do the same thing. If we're doing anything in a group, we'll always be like, well, let's see if there's a group on. Yeah. So another one that I just looked up what I had written, and I also said culture. Like you said family, I chose family too, but I also thought culture, because there's this huge, there's a huge culture even of just fitness. And so if people are really into being healthy and exercising, then Groupon will put out a ton of, join this gym or this spa, here's a thing for spa or exercise equipment and Fitbits and, all that kind of stuff. And they can totally, I think they can totally fit their offers to, each person almost.
Yep.
Yeah. It's really a brilliant system, and I think if people can take advantage of it in a good way, it's just amazing. I think that covers all of our questions.
Awesome.
I'll post the link and put a little summary up on both boards and let you know if we hear anything back from the instructor on that. If this turns out to be a good format we want to keep going, do we want to establish like a rotation for who's going to lead the discussions?
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's
Yeah,
great.
sure.
Do we want to do that now or just wait till we get further information?
Either way.
Well, I can take next week so that we have that planned, and then why don't we just wait for further information, and then we can go from there.
Sounds great to me. And for the group project,
Is this a good time for everyone, or do we need to figure out a different time?
it's good for me.
Yeah, Thursday morning should be fine.
Will this interfere with your other group, David, or is this okay?
No, I moved them over to Wednesday.
Okay.
It's like clearly I can't handle two groups in the same morning.
Yeah. In a couple weeks, I'll be out of town for work, and so I might not be able to do video chat, but I can participate via discussion board. But it kind of just depends on when it all lines up. So.
Okay.
Well, and let's just talk through email too, and make sure we can set it up and everything.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
Sounds good.
We're good. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Talk to you later.
Bye, Julia.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.